crazy, bro.
It's all set,
Escorts
man.
in public?
Good to go.
All right, thank you, brother. I'll send them over to you.
59,000, so it's a little below 60,000 per claim.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to run this up.
Which is pretty good considering I believe you have $44 million profit this week. You can go f yourself.
Nice. 4 years of heavy development and significant investment at Twitch, and Clancy's guest star, aka Stream Together, still doesn't really work that well. Such a massive waste of time and money that could have been used for things creators actually use. This could have been a Discord call with zero issues, but Clancy's ego, because guest star is his product idea that would revolutionize just chatting content, blinded him to the reality of how no one wants this and still doesn't, and it still doesn't work. Bonus from the same stream, where you can't figure out how to change something. Such a bad product when you're the #1 champion of the concept, plus CEO of the company can't figure it out, and instead gets annoyed with it.
Yeah.
But so I just sent it as soon as I saw TwitchCon stuff was up. That's whenever I messaged you. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So what's new in your life?
Not much. I don't know why the camera bitrate just keeps going down randomly.
That annoys me. That for whatever reason, sometimes Stream Together thinks that bandwidth is low, and then they start lowering the bandwidth, and it doesn't need to do it that far.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why it even thinks that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Yeah, Dan is actually a computer science and theater major, and his brother actually has a theater company in New York. So definitely very much into the theater and acting as well.
Oh, what is Stream Together doing to me? Microphone. Here, this will work. Okay. US Kodak.
Hello, Duca, and hello, Crispy. Crispy is also an absolutely wonderful creator. We've met about maybe a month ago.
He just said microphone. Is he streaming from his browser? Is that what was going on there? He's trying to pick the right device on Chrome, or I don't know how.
Also an absolutely wonderful.
Microphone. Here, this will work. Okay. US Kodak.
Hello, Duca, and hello, Crispy. Crispy is also an absolutely wonderful creator. We've met about maybe a month ago. They were actually selected as one of the finalists of a BIPOC award. So yeah, hopefully good luck to you. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but nonetheless, we're happy to see you on many categories. Thank you so much for uplifting other creators and communities as well.
Okay, I'm really...
Wait a second. Never mind. Wait, well. I feel like this is a bully because he might have like a thing going on. Or I just hallucinated this. Does Walder Frey do the thing in Game of Thrones where like one of his eyes is always like a little bit closed, but maybe not? Now I feel like I hallucinated this. Close, I think so. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I got to get someone on because now it is not, you see, since I'm going through Stream Together.
Yeah.
All right.
I need to change the, let me see this. Will this change? Oh, I'm really annoyed. Hold on. I'm really annoyed. I may not be able to sing while you're here.
Oh, that's okay. No worries.
Let me get this. I am. may not be able to fix. I can't change the mic or the
Oh, it's because it's used and streamed together. I see what you mean.
I'm trying to change the mic to a different mic. To a different mic or camera while in a session.
One thing you guys don't see, and I'll always remind you of this, okay? Let's take a quick DEI break. If Dan Clancy was either a woman or was black, there would be so many comments about him being unable to work this because of that. Same thing in Texas. If that flood would have been in a place that was affecting a bunch of black kids instead of a bunch of little Christian white girls, there would have been so many jokes about how, oh, why couldn't any of them swim? Huh? Guaranteed. Thank God for our white kings. How long has this guest star feature existed? It's been like 4 years, right? I think I said here. Damn. Rip.
My family.
Jesus. Will you ever be unbanned? Who knows? It's crazy to think that Asmongold says the most unhinged and insane shit on that platform. But I don't know. What are you going to do? Bro, this shit is crazy. The official tweets from the government accounts are just so wild. Who is this guy? Who is this supposed to be? Do you think they don't ban him because he attracts too many viewers? At this point, maybe. But he got banned for one thing, at least. But it was the Palestine stuff. Is that all they care about, I guess? I don't know. What is this? Small slap fights ensue in r/Hasan Piker as user argues whether Stalin should be praised or not. Jesus. Fascism is the bourgeois fighting organization that relies on the active support of social democracy. Social democracy is objectively the moderate wing of fascism. From Stalin concerning the international situation 1. Holy shit. What did that say? Holodomor wasn't a man-made genocide. Please go to the deprogram, Friends of the Show subreddit, and read the wiki. They're like a full-on tanky podcast subreddit. It's only cringe to call Bernie Sanders right-wing if you have no grasp of what the political spectrum actually looks like. No hate to you, but you clearly have a long way to go as it relates to your political education. I recommend Hakeem and Bad Empanada. They have a lot of fantastic work that will bring you up to speed. Bernie is right-wing. He's still a fascist because Sockdem is fascism, whether you like it or not. Bernie not only is a capitalist against a socialist revolution, but a liberal Zionist. Woo! Jew! Who refuses to say genocide. Junocide. Jew. Applying 2025 norms to 1930 is insane work. Stop using my community as some purity nonsense to push fascist views. Lib nonsense doesn't belong here. Jesus. To be fair, this is at -1, although I don't know how much of it is brigading from the meta thread. Oh, true. Also this thing, but this will never be brought up ever again. Remember, Biden having aggressive prostate cancer now is supposed to somehow be evidence that there was a massive medical cover-up of his prostate cancer while he was in office? But the president's physician saying, how long ago was this? A few months? Saying there was absolutely nothing wrong with Trump's joints and muscles. They have full range of motion with normal blood flow, no swelling. But somehow just now he got diagnosed with the with chronic venous, is it venous or venous insufficiency? So this just developed in the past couple months? What does chronic mean again? So he just fucking lied about this, and we have proof of him lying about this? Let me get a Red Bull, and then we'll watch. Well, I mean, we'll suffer through this. One sec.
Lineage of settlers from the 1500s.
Colonialists.
Yeah, colonial by the book for too long. Okay. At this point, gloves are off, right? The left has made their point. They're willing to
the police force in Washington, the left.
Like, do you see this perception? Like, a lot of Republicans, my mom would agree with this 100%, right? Conservatives have been fighting with one hand tied behind their back, and now we need to finally step up and do something. It's like, well, excuse me. What about Ken Starr and the whole Clinton-Monica Lewinsky thing? That was you guys digging for dirt for half a decade to find something to put this guy away on. What about the whole Hillary Clinton emails thing? What about the whole blocking Barack Obama from having a fucking Supreme Court judge that he is, you know, has a right to? What about, fuck, I always mix up Gore and Kerry. Gore was the one who gave up the election early to Bush because of the Florida Supreme Court shenaniganery. It was the federal Supreme Court shenaniganery. Like McConnell saying that he would block every single piece of legislation that came out of the Obama White House. That at what point were conservatives playing nice? Like, when did this ever happen? Ever? What? What are we talking about here?
Yes. Are you kidding me? The left? Are you insane?
Police officers.
Look at LA right here. The legislature in California, which is progressives again, has passed a law that says the vote before. That's pro-crime.
California has a tier-based sex offender registry. Those who commit misdemeanors have to register for a minimum of 10 years, while those who commit more serious sex crimes have to register for 20 years to life. There's nothing. It depends on what the fucking crime is, right? Like, I'm pretty sure indecent exposure is considered like a sexual crime or whatever. But like, if somebody, and I'm not saying you should do this, but if somebody streaks across a field, well, wait, does that count as a sex offender? Does commit misdemeanors? Actually, I would have to look up, I guess, exactly what this is about. Oh, fuck it, we could. Do I want to do this for every single fucking claim that's brought up? California, misdemeanor. Like, if somebody, like, streaks across a football field during a game or whatever, like, should this person be on a sex offender list for life? But I'm curious what the change was recently. Megan's Law disclaimer. Penalty for... Wait, look. Oh, I don't know what this is. Okay. Search California sex offenders. Oh, that's not what I was looking for. Also, fuck. Okay, sorry. Not to be too edgy, okay? But isn't the concept of like a sex offender registry kind of weird? Like, let's say that I move into a neighborhood and I'm like I am a 36-year-old male, okay? And I go online. It's like, okay, what's going on? All right, well, this guy who's my neighbor likes to fuck, children. Okay, well, I guess I'm glad I know that. Why don't I have like a arson registry or like a like a, you know, like a violent crime registry. Like, I'd be much more concerned if my other neighbor was like a murderer or something, or like just to beat the shit out of people in his free time. Like, wouldn't I have a greater interest in that? Like, I don't know. I just interested in me. Whatever.
Crime. The legislature in California, which is progressives again, has passed a law that says the voter-induced three-strike law is no longer absolute. If someone
also, wait, how are you pro-crime if you change the law on how some of these crimes are regulated? Does that make you pro-crime? Like, aren't you going through the process? I mean, we could technically make a philosophical argument if we define crime differently and say, well, if you passed a law that got rid of all crime, that makes you pro-crime. That's like a fairish argument. But if you're trying to argue over the borders of like what should be illegal or how illegal should a thing be, does that make you pro-crime?
attempt murders someone, stabs someone on 3 separate occasions, a judge now does not have to give them life. That's a progressive law. That is not. That
does not have to give them life? Why do we have mandatory? California voters changed the state's 3-strike rule in 2012, so the mandatory 25 to life sentence was only imposed on serious or violent offenders. I mean, that seems like a good change.
someone, stabs someone on 3 separate occasions, a judge now does not have to give them life.
You have to dab if you read this? Mootin. Dabbing is... That world has passed us by, okay? That was kind of weird. He did say that. I wish her well. This was after... I don't know if this was after she was convicted or after, or while she was on trial, but like...
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach.
Did he not know the details of any of the case or whatever? That's what it sounds like. He's just like spitballing an answer because he doesn't know. He's like a fucking...
But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
I think he actually doesn't know. This is like when he was answering about the IC, the International Court of Justice case against Israel. When the reporter asked her a question, she's like, "Oh, you know, it's a tough case. Hopefully, you know, we win or that we whatever." It is like the U.S. isn't even a part of this. 2015.
Of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends.
Well, I can't say friends, but I know
You're friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play at my clubs.
Are you saying there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political problem.
Wait, he knew? The thing is he might not... The problem is that he might not have known. He might literally just be saying this because he hates these people at this point in time. Trump is like the most unreliable fucking narrator in the universe. But you better fucking believe that if a Clinton had said this, if an Obama had said this, if a Biden had said this, this clip would be played 24/7.
So
there are so many crazy clips. Like I said, if you want to make like an Epstein conspiracy, go for it. But like Trump fits it a millionfold better. Trump fits it so much better than anybody on the Democrat side. Is there any other recording? I don't have to ask this. I know there's not, because if there was, I would be hearing about it 24/7. Like just like the things of like Epstein talking about, oh yeah, you know, I was Donald Trump's closest friend, you know?
So how do you know this?
Donald's closest friend.
So I need the
192,000 views. No one even gives a fuck. Like it's just crazy. Whatever.
Right.
What an unbelievably low IQ statement. When you talk about uniting the country, that's called bridge building. That's when you go to the other side and you do something nice. Not, wow, I've noticed that my group of 10 friends has been fighting with this other group of 10 friends. I'm going to unite us by giving my group of 10 friends something nice. What the fuck? What an unbelievably fucking random, stupid thing to say.
It's even possible, I think you would have to admit that there's another possibility, therefore he's not pro-crime.
Also, it is 2025. We're not talking about what Epicurious or Salanthroperius or whatever random fucking Roman emperor might have said or might have done, or we're trying to guess what the motivations could have been for some king or queen or some feudal lord in the year 1. We have unlimited access to tweets and truths and public statements and press statements and interviews and his own in front of the camera stuff. Why do we have to invent reasons for why Donald Trump pardoned people from the J6 system? He pardoned because he thought it was unfair because they were being unfairly prosecuted. Like, we don't have to guess. Why do we have to invent reasons? If he was doing it to unite the country, shouldn't he say that? Shouldn't he make that statement? This is another thing that's like very strange to me for a lot of these conservative types, is they seem to place the same amount of responsibility on the president of the United States as they would on any random fuck citizen. This happens a lot when I go on Pures, and I'll be like, look at these things that Donald Trump is saying, and they'll be like, well, what about this thing that this random person on Twitter said? It's like, that person's not the fucking president. Oh, that one degenerate, dipshit, subhuman woman, who was the one who did the... it wasn't Tommy Lauren, it was some other fucking bimbo dipshit who was like, well, you guys champion George Floyd or something. And I'm like, why the fuck are we comparing George Floyd to the president of the United States? Oh, was it Lily Gaddis? Was it her? I don't remember the clip.
I just think it's funny that the morally superior liberals are so quick to be like, Trump's a felon, he's a bad guy, and all these things, you know, and they're like, no, felons should be able to vote and do all these things. They're like, unless it's Donald Trump, but...
Like, what is the comparison here?
George Floyd was apparently an amazing person, so...
Well, George Floyd was brutally murdered by a police officer who was convicted of brutally murdering him. And unfortunately, we saw it all on a cell phone. Otherwise, it would have probably never been reported. I can see you shaking your head there, Destiny. You want to say
this happens all the time. Whenever you debate conservatives, I mean, it's happened here, I've seen it happen in other places. It'll be like, here's the standards for Republican lawmakers, and then they'll point to like people on Twitter on the other side, like, well, what about that person? I don't remember voting for George Floyd for president or nominating him for president. The idea that that's your basis of comparison, like, oh, you got a problem with Donald Trump, but what about George Floyd? It's just such a hilariously telling, I think, example.
He was also a criminal with that overdose, but that's another situation.
That still doesn't get him any closer to being nominated for president of the Democratic Party. I don't understand what the comparison is for.
It's just funny to have different standards. You're like, this is fine, but this isn't fine. That's the whole point of that. You don't need to read that deeply into it. It's not.
Well, it's funny to have different standards for different people. Isn't that the point, to have different standards for different people? Like,
yeah. I know, once again, that's a joke. It goes far over the
I wouldn't do this because I already have enough death threats and all this other shit. But dude, a Kino fucking video would be to get like, go to like a fucking go to like some grade school or high school and see if you can get like 10 classmates or whatever, or not classmates, but like 10 students to like go into like a swimming pool and then get like a hose and like spray water above them and be like, I want to see if these 10 kids drown, and then if they don't, demand that we test all of the children who died in Texas for fentanyl in their blood to see if they actually drowned or if there was something else going on there. That would be way too fucking edgy, but it would be a fucking hilarious. The reason why, there's a lot of reasons why you can use some or not, but when people talk about like, oh, well, the U3 is bullshit because it doesn't include, when we talk about unemployment rate, we're talking about the U3 labor statistic, right? U3 unemployment. And there's a variety of numbers people use for a variety of reasons. The reason why we don't include typically things like discouraged workers or people with partial employment is because sometimes people might be choosing that. It might be the fact that the guy that has a $25,000 a year job, that part-time job is enough for him. You might call them underemployed. I've seen different ways of measuring that. But it's not always the case that these people are people that you would want them to be employed. Like, they might not be employed for a variety of reasons. And so there's a reason why we tend to favor the U3. Now, the U3 doesn't capture obviously, as he's pointing, it doesn't capture every metric of unemployment. And there are other numbers that you can still look at it. But when people, here's the big thing that you should keep in mind when people want to use a different number, okay? The U3 and the U6 unemployment rate, like, they tend to track each other, like, decently ordinarily. If somebody wanted to talk about some like huge divergence of these, where all of a sudden our U6 unemployment rate is dramatically growing versus the U3 and they can't account for it, then you can have a conversation. I would have to bring, I want to bring up another thing. How do I find another thing? Somebody like me too! Like, so for instance, our labor force participation rate, I think, has decreased because I think labor force participation rate, I believe, includes, it's a higher age. I think the U3 includes it. Might cut off at 54 or something. But like you expect to see this one rise a bit for labor force participation because of the fact that the population is aging, for instance. Total unemployed persons, job openings, and quits. So as your population ages more, there are going to be more people that aren't participating in the labor market. I think labor force participation, cuts off at 65. I could be wrong on that though. But I just always like, whenever somebody brings up, it's always like a red herring in an argument. Somebody's like the true unemployment. It's like, well, why do you want to talk about this number versus the other one? And is this number significantly different than what was in the past? And my understanding is up to this point, generally not. With the labor force participation rate, that one actually decreasing a little bit, but that's just because of the aging population. This is a really hard one for Mehdi to argue against because I think leftists and a lot of progressives actually make a huge stumble here, and that is the assumption that labor is good and firms are bad. So more bargaining power is good for labor, and less bargaining power would be good for firms. So like jobs, corporations, these are bad, and labor is good. And that's not true. You want them to reach some kind of healthy equilibrium, but it feels like a truism to say employees should have higher wages. It feels like a truism to just say that, but that's not really the case all the time. You don't want employees to have infinite bargaining power for their wages because at some point the wage is going to be so high that the firm can't operate at a profit anymore. And now if your marginal cost of goods is less than the amount of money that you spend making the thing, which might be included in marginal cost of goods, you're not going to sell the product, right? If I've got to pay you $100 an hour and I'm making products that sell for, you can make one of these products an hour and it sells for $50, you're just not going to make the product anymore. So there's always like an equilibrium that you want to reach here, which is why natural rate of unemployment is supposed to be like at around 5% to account for frictional unemployment for people that are in between jobs, and you want to have some negotiating ability on the power of employees. You don't want it to be, 20% unemployment because now you're fucked, and now corporations know that they can, hire you at dirt cheap labor because nobody's got a fucking job. And you don't want unemployment to be like 1 or 2% because now firms are having to pay out the ass for fucking employment, and the cost of everything is going to skyrocket. You're going to be fucked. So.
When you increase labor's relationship to capital, okay, and you give labor more bargaining power.
But the problem is the left will never acknowledge that maybe labor bargaining power should be capped, right? Like unions should only be able to bargain so much. You don't want to give them unlimited power, and you don't want firms to have unlimited power. You want them to have some kind of like natural equilibrium with each other. Remember, an employee's job, if you are an employee, your interest is you want to work as little as possible for as much money as possible. That's in your interest. And if you're a firm, your job is you want to squeeze the most work as possible for the least pay as possible. And this is the natural tension of labor and of the firm, right? This is why trickle-down economics is also stupid, because like Republicans will say, well, you give firms more money, they'll pay people more money. Like, that's not necessarily true. Labor is a cost of doing business. You would never pay them more willingly. You always want to pay them the least amount as possible. For the entire rest of this thing, you should ask them, did you vote for Donald Trump? You understand that Donald Trump tried to rescind your DACA status, and then for the rest of the conversation, you just say cut until they vote him out and he leaves. How? Like, you couldn't be further away from your own interest.
I came here when I was 10. I'm what you would call a legal alien now. I didn't have any say on my pen. I'm what you would call a legal alien now.
You're not. That is not true. You are only protected by the courtesy of the president, because DACA, I believe, is a form of TPS. I think it's a temporary protected status. I think. I'll have to look at my immigration thing again for what that exists under. But this is purely by executive. Fuck, I think I have what kind of, there's different, I think there are 3 different classes of things that a president can do. Categories of illegal immigrants who have protected status against deportation. These categories are kind of for illegal immigrants. You have DACA, which are deferred action for childhood arrivals. Also, it was a separate category even that Obama created for them. But still, like, these are not technically legal immigrants. Temporary protected status is TPS. I think Donald Trump removed most people from this recently. I think Venezuelans were referenced as one of them. And then you've got deferred enforced departures, DEDs. So the idea that he thinks he's magically now legal, when Donald Trump literally tried to get rid of DACA, I think in his first term, but a judge ruled against it because he was literally, they were like, Donald Trump's just doing this to be an asshole, basically. Arbitrary and capricious is the actual, it's the legal term for that. And it was a 5-4 decision as well. Jesus. How can you support this guy? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not a Trump voter, I guess. I'm just making an assumption because he's on a thing called 25 right conservatives. Like, that's not even what that means, but okay.
All right, guys, that's time.
That's good, Kate. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. I thought it would be an interesting exercise in trying to understand what genuine far-right conservative folks think, and it was kind of disturbing to see that they think what I thought they think, and they were happy to say it out loud. I am disappointed that I had to sit across from people who believe in white genocide, who believe I'm not a citizen. Multiple people here said I should be deported. One of them was even the child of immigrants, which I found bizarre.
Obviously, we were way outclassed. Like, we're not professional debaters. I don't think anyone in this room was, maybe one or two people. And clearly, Manny, he does this for a living.
Whenever anybody says they're like a textualist or an originalist, like the kill shot to that is always, oh, okay, so smoothbore, rifle, musket, whatever, that's exclusively what the Second Amendment was talking about, right? That's that's just it. Like, none of these people will ever agree to that. If you find the one person out of 150 million that will actually honestly say, yeah, actually, I think I agree, the Second Amendment should only apply to muskets or whatever, I don't know, message me and we'll figure out the next part of that debate. But you'll never find these people in reality.
Of immigrants, which I found bizarre.
Obviously, we were way outclassed. Like, we're not professional debaters. I don't think anyone in this room was, maybe one or two people. And clearly, Manny, he does this for a living, right? He's a journalist, so he's really good at what he does.
Mehdi Hasan was pretty good at, taking cheap shots, trying to derail people from their arguments, trying to pit me against, some of the people that wouldn't like people of my color to be in the United States, which is irrelevant.
I think one person said as he walked off, you'll be the first to go, which is ominous and racist.
I think that was disheartening and particularly discouraging because it just felt like it was fitting into a stereotype that we're trying to fight against, which is like we actually have arguments, we can provide good reason, and that rhetoric just pushes that far away.
I am, I guess, a far-right Republican, but as I learned today, not as far-right as I thought I was. Someone gets up and they're just like, yeah, I mean, I guess I
Why
just
does this guy, he looks like the troll face guy. I'm doing many personal insults.
to have autocracy forever and Christian nationalism, or just being like, yeah, I'm racist. And to me, that's very foreign of a concept.
While I didn't, disagree with most of the people in the circle, it did bother me at times, to see them say mean things. There's not really a reason to do that. But it also upset me when Mehdi said, I'm not willing to debate with those people.
Free speech doesn't mean you need to give credibility or oxygen or platform to people who don't agree in human equality.
I hear Mehdi's point about not giving them a platform, but the thing is, if you stop giving them a platform, they don't just go away and change their mind. And then you tell the rest of society no one exists who thinks like that, and that's not true.
I do like to debate people, even people I disagree with. I try and avoid bad faith folks. I think some of the folks today were bad faith. I'm anti-conservative, right? I don't support conservative views on taxation. I don't support conservative views on immigration. But the people here today were way beyond conservative. This is open authoritarianism. And this is what is being normalized and mainstreamed in our country by people in power, by the media, by people who don't know any better.
You can see why the Department of Education is the first target. Jesus.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s.
Well, what a time. What a bad time. What a bad time to be alive in America. Jesus.